You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
The heroes are back. Fierce talking balls, rapping pink and black. Coming live from the 305, it's official tissue. The Battered Fan, Chris and Dan, weekly rocking with you. We talk Messi, Boosie, Jordy, Lucho, the Fat Four, to Ben Cram, Noah, Ruiz, Fred. What more could you ask for? Tighten up and get ready, listen in on the pod. Solana and X in Espanol, just to even the odds. Breakdowns and gas bagging, join the tribe and just vibe. $3.99, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't hesitate, say what's up, go ahead and come in. No question about it, I'm ready to get hurt again.
No question about it, I am ready to get hurt again.
We've got wind chills down to almost 30 below. Impacts to your daily routine, to commutes, to travel. Dangerous cold also is at 20 below, maybe even 30 below. And reduced visibility, heavy snow at times, where all of us are getting snow for many hours.
We're looking at 4 to 9 inches of snow, and nobody gets a break from the extreme cold that's coming for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
And we can have anywhere from 3 to 6 inches as an average. Some pockets may be more than 6. Then the biggest round for everybody is going to be on Tuesday. And once the snow is in place, the Arctic air is going to be in place for some time. Get the wind speeds kicking up. You're going to have wind chill factors, no doubt, approaching minus 30, especially on Thursday. What about those wind chills? Anywhere from minus 10 to minus 30. And I'm talking Tuesday through Friday. That means if your exposed skin is out there for not very long. In fact, you can get frostbite from this.
Chris, the Herons are back. Welcome everybody to episode number 309 of the Battered Herons podcast. I am your host Daniel Granada, and alongside me, as always, Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
I gotta fix my microphone, but I'm bundled up, baby.
No, your mic sounds good. Yeah, you're bundled up. I feel like my camera's
triple layered. I'm triple layered here. I mean, it is gonna be below zero. Enough snow out there.
Yeah, I mean, we found out that the game got postponed. We didn't want to postpone the show, but because we have to respect our guests' time. But the game is officially postponed. They got moved to Wednesday night. And I will ask our guest if he has a little more info, because we know that it might not snow as much on Wednesday. At least that's my understanding. But it's still going to be just as cold, as you said, as you saw in that video. Possibility of frostbite. It's not looking nice over there in Kansas City. So yeah,
it doesn't make
it's tough.
It doesn't make any sense, Danny. I mean, Janet Louise is asking Wednesday's going to be any better. I mean, Wednesday looks like it's going to be colder than Tuesday.
That didn't no snow though. At least I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, look. But one thing's for sure, my goat's going to play, because my goat wouldn't sit out. So, all right, actually 10 degrees colder. All right, well, all right, let's stop beating around the bush. We are here to preview Wednesday's game now, right? And I think that this is possibly the worst possible way that Inter Miami's year could have gotten started, because they're playing on Wednesday now. So they play on Wednesday, they have 2 rest days, then they play on Saturday, then they have 2 rest days, and they play the return game for the next leg of the CCC against Kansas City. So they start off the season with 3 games in 6 nights. And not even 6 nights. Saturday's game's a day game. But regardless, in 6 days. That's a rough way to start your season, especially when 2 of those games are crucial. Because if you get knocked out somehow, which I hope that this isn't a possibility, but we'll get into it later. If you get knocked out of the Champions Cup by Sporting KC, that means you would have gotten eliminated from 2 tournaments to far inferior competition. Absolutely. In the last, 4 games that you've played, which would be the last 2 games against Atlanta and then these 2 against Kansas City. Like, I'm sorry, like that cannot happen. But we're going to get into all that and more. But without further ado, let me bring on our guest, Chad Smith from For the Glory KC. There you are, Chad. What's going on, man? How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
It's
I
a
had you on for
pleasure.
the first time with the MLS preview show. It was a good time, and you were the one that broke it to me because I had no idea before then. And look, they remember you from the Frost Tips. I had no idea that it was possibly going to snow, and now it's become a huge story. How's the weather looking up there, Chad?
Yeah, so it's like a dusting today. We got almost nothing, but it's going to start snowing during the recording of this podcast, is what my app on my phone is saying. And they've already canceled school for tomorrow. So it's
I've
looking
heard
like
it.
it might get kind of hairy out there. We've had a lot of canceled days this year, very abnormal. I've been back in KC for 4 years, and I think my kids missed like 2 weeks of school. It's crazy. So
Nice.
it's going to be cold. That's going to be the worst part of it, though. The snow is one thing, but the cold is going to be just brutal.
Is it really supposed to be colder on Wednesday than it is on Tuesday?
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And we were out at Media Day last Friday, and it was 20 degrees warmer that it's going to be on Tuesday, which I think a few more degrees cooler on Wednesday, too. And I was dying. Like, we're standing on the field. They were doing warm ups and just running some drills and things. And I was like, I'm ill dressed for this situation. Like, I just didn't plan for it was going to be. Obviously, I'm going to be dressed a little better on Wednesday because while I get to sometimes sit in the press box, 2/3 of the press box is outside. So the likelihood is I'm gonna get one of those outside seats, and the TV people and the newspapers and all that, they'll be the ones sitting behind the glass in the nice warm air.
Obvious.
I mean, anybody that's coming in with like Argentine credentials is getting the most VIP section of that area. Like, you're cooked. The opposite of cooked.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Last year, whenever y'all came out and we played in the Chiefs Stadium at Arrowhead, it was the most media people I've ever seen in an event. So I know I'm probably going to like auxiliary press, wherever the heck that is. I've never been pushed that far out, but I've got the seat warmers, hand warmers, feet warmers. I got everything. I'm not gonna. My computer's not gonna work. It's gonna be too cold for me to like tweet about the game or anything. But I'll be there.
You know I've seen a lot of people like, oh, soccer players are soft.
Well, as Danny fixes his microphone there, I guess maybe what he's trying to get to, and maybe I'm wrong here, Danny, that there's claims that the soccer players are kind of soft and they're kind of wussies. Like, I guess what's the sort of I don't know, like are they really that soft? Is that what you were kind of getting to?
Right, yeah, because in the NFL, they
fortitude
play a series which takes 8 to 10 minutes maybe if you have a good drive, and then you go back and you run into your bench, you put on that heavy towel with the heated benches, and you got those heated things throwing them. Like, you warm yourself up every 8 to 10 minutes, 12 minutes. A great drive is 15 minutes real time, right? Not football time, but real time. When you're playing soccer or football, however you want to, some people like to still call it football, you're on there for 50 minutes straight. Like,
yeah,
nonstop.
There's no break.
Like, there's no water break. I don't know if they're going to have a warmth break, but there's no water break. Like, when it's really hot outside, it's a hydration break. They go, they drink some water. In the cold, you don't get that. So when you're going 50 minutes in -2-degree weather, it's not the same as the NFL. So for everybody that's saying that nonsense, you guys, you can stop it. And Chad, and you know better than I do, because obviously I'm sure you see the Chiefs there or whatnot. Maybe I'm wrong. You tell me what you think, because you've actually I don't experience that weather ever.
Yeah, no, I would never really go outside, frankly, when the weather's like this. I work at home, so I just sit in front of this nerdy wall of toys all the time and work from this desk. But yeah, the Chiefs, I'm not a American football fan really, so I don't go to those games. But the people got frostbite when the Dolphins were here. What was it? The 2023 playoffs. Yeah. So it's dangerously cold. What's insane to me is during that practice where I'm dying and I'm bundled up on the sideline last Friday, and again, 20 degrees warmer than it's going to be. There's guys that took their like warm-up pants off and were in their shorts. Mason Toy was in shorts. Our new center back, our draft pick, Jansen Miller, he was in shorts. I was like, these men are crazy. Like, what is happening right now? So I'm softer than them. There's no way. But there are some hard guys, I guess, out there. I don't know how else to put it. They're tough.
Well, I want to bring something up, Danny, before you move on. Like, I think this is the perfect example of all the people that are like, oh, we want to have the schedule like Europe has it. Like, this is the beginning example of it, Danny. Like, we're rescheduling games. Am I wrong, Chad? Or Or, I mean, at this point, the people that want the schedule with Europe are literally eating their words. And we're in the middle of the freaking country. Imagine places up north like Minnesota, like in I don't know, like Seattle, like Canada. Like, this is a disaster.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that I don't know how it's supposed to work. Everybody kept saying, oh, there'll be a winter break. There'll be a winter break. The break will be long over by February. And
Yeah.
it has been abnormally cold here, I would say, the last, I don't know, 6 weeks or so. Because Kansas City is in the middle of the country. It's not nearly as cold as some of those other places. Minnesota, Toronto,
Yeah.
like they're playing outside. Colorado, I think it's snowing in Colorado right now. I don't know if that LAFC game is that today. Is that going on a little later on tonight? And they're going to play in the snow, as far as I know.
In Colorado,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were calling Miami soft because they're playing through it. I don't know what the temperature is looking like over there, but I did hear some people calling Miami soft because they felt like Miami was the one that pushed the envelope for that.
Yeah.
Maybe
There
they
are
did,
a lot
maybe
of
they
people.
didn't.
Yeah, the Sporting KC Reddit, which are always the most rational takes in all of soccer, they are insisting that they just push this for Messi. It's all because of him. They want to be able to play. But to your all's point, 2 days rest between these two, like the weekend game and then the next Tuesday game, that's not good for anybody. And it's really what I've heard. The reason why they're doing it on Wednesday versus Tuesday is because if it snows on you, you get wet. Then what's going to happen is you're much more likely to get hypothermia from that. The cold combined with being wet. But you saw that news report. They're saying if you're outside with exposed skin for more than 30 minutes, you can get frostbite. So that's a little disconcerting.
I mean, and Gus saying, yes, this is because of the snowstorm. But there's snowstorms that happen all the time in the Midwest, in the Northeast. Like, this is something that happens here, Gus. So yes, snowstorms, but like it still happens, and it's going to affect scheduled games. This is the first game for Inter Miami for that actually counts. And here we are rescheduling it to Wednesday to avoid like a 10% chance of hypothermia or whatever it is, pneumonia of whatever you got out there. Okay. Danny, this is going to be a mess, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to see because I saw somebody say that Paticos Pablo said that it snows in Europe also. I'm trying to see a comparison because I don't know if it gets as cold as it does in Vancouver, for example, as it does over there in, let's say, Paris. But I'm sure that there are far colder places if you go to Eastern Europe. Well, I don't know. I don't follow those leagues. I don't know what they play through or how they play. So I'll take your word for it, Pablo. All right, but back to the actual on the pitch. Chad, Sporting KC, horrible season last year. They somehow ended up as the runner-ups in the U.S. Open Cup, and that paved the way for this Champions Cup berth. How have they looked so far in the preseason?
Well, preseason has not been great. I'm not going to try to lie to you. There were 6 games. Their opening game, they lost to FIU, which is not even an elite college program. You all know Florida International University down there, I'm sure.
Alma mater.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's your neck of the woods. So, they lost that game. Now, it was their backups that gave up a goal as 1-0, but the goal scoring has not been there. They played 6 preseason games. They only scored twice through all the games, and both the goals were against Charlotte, the one penalty and another like in the run of play. They've missed 2 penalty kicks. They didn't make a single penalty kick all of last season. So
really,
it's a little dicey for Sporting KC. Now, that said, they did just make some really big moves, and those guys are just getting. And now, hey, they have one more day of practice, so maybe they'll take the field versus like one of the guys, Shapi Suleimanov. He just arrived like 2 days ago. Another guy arrived on last Thursday, Manu Garcia. So maybe a few more of those guys get on the field, but also a lot of the bad play, like there was a 6-0 loss to Minnesota built into that preseason. That was all backup kids playing against starters. So no starters were really out there, except for maybe Jake Davis is a starter. For some reason, he was out there with that unit. But other than that, everybody else was like teenagers, guys that are not even on the second team, that are just in the academy. They don't have a full roster. So with a few guys down injured, they were reaching deep into the bench to put a roster together to play these games. But our backup goalkeeper looked horrific. So hopefully he doesn't have to see the field too much this year.
I mean, it looks like you guys were able to put together 3 total goals for the preseason. One One against FIU, I guess. And
No,
wait,
no,
no,
only
not
only
against
two. It was
FIU.
0-1 loss to
Yeah,
FIU.
2 against
2-3
Charlotte.
loss to Charlotte. Yeah,
Well, that's actually
and no
surprising because
goals in
Charlotte
any of the other
is good
games.
defensively.
Yeah, and they scored him against I thought one was against the starters. Mason Toy he was starting. He's like our third string striker, but everybody was hurt, not healthy. Dayon wasn't there yet. They had just sold Polito, and then they got a penalty kick in the second half that they actually converted. One of the teenager homegrowns knocked it in, but we've missed 2 more PKs. Dayon missed a PK, and I'm trying to think somebody else missed one through preseason as well. It's not been great. They're not firing out of the gate, and they never are really at the very beginning of the season. So to get Miami right away that's a bit of a tough draw.
Yeah.
Is Joveljic going to be ready to play?
Yeah, I think he's going to play. You got to go soft J Joveljic. So there, I don't know if it. Yeah.
And by the way, for
And
those that don't know, you might remember Joveljic from the Galaxy last year. He was their striker, and I was surprised to see that he left and ended up in KC. So
I think part of that was just that he graduated off his U22 initiative deal, and he was going to hit the cap as a targeted allocation money player based on his prior contract, and they either couldn't fit him in or they were going to lose him for free. Some people were saying they literally couldn't keep him. Like his transfer fee may have been not correct, according to some reports out of the Galaxy, and that he was actually going to be a DP, and they didn't have room for another designated player because they already have 3 others. So their loss is Sporting's gain, hopefully. He looked really dynamic in little 15-minute appearances in preseason, 30 minutes here or there. He didn't have his number 10, his attacking midfielder in there to help him out, but I'm hopeful.
okay, Chris.
Can I answer a
No,
chat
no, I was
question
just
I saw?
Yes, please go for it.
Sure, yeah, go
So
ahead.
it's way back. I think it was Rick. He was asking about the heated field, and there's been a lot of talk about this heated field underneath Children's Mercy Park. And it is true. There is like a state-of-the-art heating situation going on there. And basically what it is, it keeps the roots alive so they don't go dormant. It's not like it's radiating heat, because people were talking about, I'm going to sit in the first row so I can feel the heat off that field. No, it's keeping the field like 50 degrees. So imagine setting your heater to 50, that's AC. Like, what are we even talking about? So it's not going to keep anybody warm. It's not going to keep anybody above the field warm. The players aren't going to be warm from it. It is literally just so the grass keeps growing and doesn't go dormant. It doesn't freeze. Because when we hosted MLS Cup back in 2013, there's literally like ice on the field. Jimmy Nielsen is like stomping and breaking up ice so that when he dives to make a save, he's not landing on solid ice. They won that game though. So that's all that really matters. They got, a few more MLS Cups than Miami. To be fair, they've had 29 chances. So,
well, yeah, but they've been around a little longer.
Yeah,
we don't know
just like the entire history of the league. So,
and we don't know anything about heaters. Like, people here don't turn heaters on. Like, we turn it on and it starts to smell like the house is burning. So we don't know anything about anything with heaters.
Yeah.
Now I know that you guys are. Go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was going to say, yeah, you're spot on. When we turn ours on for the first time, it's like burning the dust out of there. But my heater gets some work. I get some like $400 gas bills in the winter. It's awful.
Ooh, my goodness.
Yeah.
2025. What's the outlook for 2025? Like, what's the hope?
I mean, I'd say there is hope for the first time in a long time. I think we talked about this on the Battered MLS pod, and the Sporting Kansas City didn't have a budget to sign players since 2020, since the COVID season. The owners, who are billionaires, pulled back and basically said, hey, Peter Vermees, every time you want to sign a player, come to us and ask. And at times over those years, well, even before that, they had a designated player number 9 back in 2018, the year we were this close from making it to MLS Cup. Portland in the semifinals of the Western Conference, or the Western Conference Finals, I should say. And the ownership said, no, we're in first place. Why do we need to spend money on this number 9? And then if a few years later, we were trying to get a DP number 10, again, they said, no, they're just not going to spend money. So every single player they wanted to sign, they couldn't spend, versus we're not spending like other teams, but Peter Vermees has shown that he can get a lot from a little. And they spent $9 million on these 3 players that they've brought in the last couple of weeks, Dejan Joveljic, Manu Garcia, and Shapi Suleimanov. And it gives you hope. I've seen a lot of I don't know if you saw MLSsoccer.com predictions, and they were all over the place. Sporting was as high as 3rd in the West and as low as, I think, 14th or something.
Who had us 3rd in the West?
Yeah, third is crazy. Like I don't think that they could really get third. I feel like if the season goes great, they might be fighting for a home playoff game, but that's probably unlikely. As long as they're fighting to make the playoffs after missing for a season, barely making it the year before, and then missing the year before that, I think that's progress, and at least the rational fans can get behind that. Hey, they're rebuilding, they're starting to take steps in the right direction. They're spending money instead of just being kind of cheap, let's be honest. Messi probably makes more than our entire roster. So,
yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that you guys are just getting sort of started. And I mean, as far as I've looked, I can't really find any information about how you guys set the squad up. Like, is there like a formation that you guys typically use? Or is there something that you guys are planning on using at some point, maybe with the switch in personnel?
yeah, that's a good question. So, Sporting Kansas City, honestly, has been running a 4-3-3 since Peter Vermees took over. He thinks it is the formation to play soccer out of, but they have altered it a lot over the years. Like the team that won MLS Cup back in 2013, it was kind of like that car crash Red Bull soccer where they're just crashing, everybody fouling like crazy, high press, trying to create turnovers. But then maybe around 2018 or so, when they had that really good run, I mean, Vermees basically loves him some Barcelona. He's got a ton of Barcelona B guys that have come through the teams over the year between, Fontes and Ilie and guys like that. And he wants to possess the ball. He wants to play pretty soccer. And that's kind of been their MO for the last, 7, 8 years, something like that. I think what we might see differently is we're still going to see the 4-3-3. We're going to go back to the single pivot defensive midfielder, according to what we've seen in preseason. And because we did a little bit of double pivot last year because our only single pivot guy was hurt a lot, Nemanja Radia. And then what they're going to try to do, though, is I think they're going to try to play a little bit more counterattacking, maybe not press quite as high. They have a lot of guys with a lot of speed. And if you've seen Alan Polito run, we didn't have a lot of speed last year. So Polito's gone. I think you got 3 center forwards that have some pace. They have some creative ability. You got a new number 10 that hopefully can spring those counterattacks. I think you're going to see them. Well, I mean, that's where Miami looks weak, right? They sometimes give up those counterattacking goals. So I hope maybe we can catch them off guard, surprise them. I don't have any hopes, though, based on 2 goals in 6 games in the preseason.
Well, we're going to have that discussion a little bit because I do think that is the way to beat Miami at the moment until they prove they could do otherwise. Mash should be listening to Chad. Yes, Mascherano should be listening to Chad. And then I just thought that this was a funny comment right here. Barcelona is the biggest club in the world. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Oh my god! Mez just tossed that in there like a grenade and ran away. Like literally nobody's talking about Barcelona, Mez, and you just came here.
Yes, he did. Chad just brought it up.
Well, yeah, he brought it up, but like tossing the grenade in like this.
I just thought it was funny. All right, funny because it's not true. Chad, as far as for those of you that don't know Peter Vermees, for those of you that are unaware, he's been around since like 1940. No, he's been coaching the team since like 1940. Like he is, isn't he the coach that's been in coaching the same team for the longest time? Right, I think it's been like 15, 16 years.
Yeah, it's not even close. I think it's 2009, so 16 years. There was some talk of firings over the last few years, but that's just fans. The ownership has stuck by him no matter what. He got a 5-year extension the year they missed the playoffs. And so it's like, I don't even know. I think what it comes down to is they don't know what to do without Vermees. He's basically done everything for this team for so many years. He was involved in stadium planning, the building of their training facility, all these different things, and they don't know a world without him. Now, if they keep losing, I think ultimately, eventually your time is up, but they also weren't spending, which we didn't realize for all those years. Vermees he's just a company man. He wasn't throwing them under the bus. Then he started to lay down these hints where he's like, well, we're not really spending like these other teams. And I'm like, oh, are you throwing ownership under the bus? But really, they're kind of throwing him under the bus because they're not accessible. They're not out there taking he's out there getting crapped on. There was a game, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, and they were chanting, hey, Vermees, it's all your fault from our supporter section when we had, I don't even know how many games in a row they had lost at that point. And I asked him in the press conference afterward, and he's like, no, I didn't hear it. And I was like, you're lying. I know you heard it. So, he didn't really have a good response. And he said basically, hey, that's ownership's job. If they want to fire me, ownership can fire me. But I'm just here to coach the team and build the team. And now he's got a sporting director. So he didn't have to worry about building as much as he was doing everything. He was like a one-man show for all these years. So he's got a little bit of help now.
I think it's great to have one coach for that long. Obviously, extended losing. I mean, you got to go. But I think continuity goes a long way in all the sports. So
Yeah, I think that it's appealing to players too, right? Because you
uh-huh.
come in, you see these other teams where a new coach comes in and they don't like you, and suddenly you're not in use anymore. Versus you're pretty confident Peter Vermees is going to keep being the guy. So when he says, "Yeah, I've been the coach for 16 years," and the next closest Smetzer, I don't even know what he's up to. Jim Curtin was 5 years behind Vermees, but he's out the door. So Vermees is going to shatter some records over here. I mean, the league's only existed 30 years, so he's got a pretty good shot at that.
Yeah, I think he already has the record, I would assume.
Yeah, he's just going to he's going to make it unattainable. Nobody's ever going to catch it.
Nah, it's hard to keep somebody around that long because eventually one or two down seasons and you feel like it's time for a change. All right, so what would you say is the strength of this KC team? Like, hey, Miami fans, this is what you have to worry about because this is the well, I know. It's tough. Slim pickings, but what is the strength of this KC team?
And before you answer that, Chad, I mean, I was just looking at you guys. You guys are like bottom of the barrel last season, like second to last in the West. You guys had a differential of negative 15, goals for and against. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to be scared of.
Yeah, I don't know that you should be scared, frankly, because they haven't really gotten going. I feel like you want to play this team right now versus once they start to figure things out.
Yes.
We were talking to Peter in the press conference on Friday, and he was saying, look at how far this team has come in 6 weeks of preseason. They are so much better than they were 6 weeks ago, like when they lost to FIU at the beginning of preseason.
Yeah.
And then he goes, a month from now, we're going to be a totally different team too, because two of our DPs just arrived, a targeted allocation money signing just arrived. They're talking about still making another, quote, big signing. I don't know what that means exactly, because they're saying, well, we don't really want to use our third DP spot. But as far as what to be afraid of, the cold, I guess. I don't know, that your players freeze and can't handle the cold weather, and they just kind of shock them. Maybe a counterattacking goal. It seems like you guys have some weaknesses there, but our defense,
absolutely,
was it fourth from the bottom, something like that last year, and goals allowed? It was bad.
No, we only had 5 teams.
No, us. Sporting.
Oh, I thought you said us. I was like, no. I know that was the stigma, but no, we weren't as bad. But yes, okay, KC, yes. KC was pretty
good. Yeah. Sporting. No, I thought Miami gave up a lot of goals too, and then I looked and I was like, I wish Sporting only gave up that many goals.
Yeah. It did. When you look at the stats, it wasn't as bad as it looked because it was just constant having to defend the counters. And Drake saved us quite a bit. As much as people like to hate on him, he saved us quite a bit on those one-on-one opportunities. Chris.
And I'll tell you, Danny, he was talking about maybe this acquisition that may happen in the future. Like Ronaldo might just come tomorrow along with the plane and the snow. Like you just never know what might happen.
Hey.
I cannot tell you how many times over the last 2 years people bring up the Ronaldo thing. Peter Vermees and then the president and CEO, Jake Reed, they insist that it was real. They insist they met with his parties multiple times, never him. I just think Ronaldo's people were probably playing Sporting against the Saudi bid just to get, $1 billion or whatever.
Well, I will tell you that Peter Vermees, one thing that I do know about him is that he is a stickler for players defending. Like you can't be lackadaisical on the pitch, and you weren't going to get that out of Ronaldo. So that I don't even see that. How would that even work? I don't know if that would have ever even worked.
He got benched within a few games too.
Or you can get our goal, or you can get one of our goalkeepers. Maybe he might be coming on the plane just to switch jerseys.
Anybody would be lucky to get Drake. All right. Chad, what would you say is the weakness of KC?
I can only pick one. Well, I think the defense sometimes looks worse than it really is because there were problems further up the field, right? I don't know if they're as bad as they looked last year, and because they basically brought back the same defense. They only don't have Andreu Fontes, who didn't play a ton last year anyways, and everybody else is back. They don't really have a right back. They have a bunch of guys playing out of position at right back, Jake Davis, Kyrie Shelton. I don't know who it's going to be, probably Davis, even though he should be in the midfield. He's a destroyer in the midfield. But I think the problem is they turn the ball over in bad positions. Yeah, Kyrie Shelton. Yeah. He's awful. If you'd like him, he's available.
I just didn't know he was still in the league.
Yeah, he's making 750K. He was like the seventh or eighth highest paid player on Sporting last year, and he didn't start until
Really?
late in the season. It's an
Oh,
inexplicable. Well, everybody
did
is
not know he was
convinced that
still
the
in the
old
league.
yeah, everybody's convinced the old I didn't know what his title was, vice president of player personnel. I don't know. We didn't have a sporting director technically. That he had blackmail on him. Kyrie had some sort of blackmail on him because he signed a new deal and he got like a 4-year deal, 750K every year, which is like it's too much for a guy he doesn't play. He's a
He
forward
was
that's not
really
playing
bad
right back.
on NYCFC. He was really bad also. I thought that I thought he didn't make it in the
awful.
league. I thought he left.
No, he had one really good that 2018 season, weirdly enough, Sporting, where he scored a ton of goals at center forward is where he's supposed to have been. And then he went to Germany for a year, flamed out at Paderborn, and then somehow came back to Sporting, played terribly, and got a contract extension and is still here all these years later. So
Wow,
this
that's
is the
wild.
last year of his guaranteed deal. But
That was
shoot, if he's playing,
NYCFC's first ever draft pick.
yeah, like number 2 or 3 overall, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was number 2. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, probably 2, the
You
expansion.
just took me back. I hadn't heard that name in such a long time.
Sadly,
Plus-
we hear it all the time. I don't want to hate on Kyrie. He's an incredibly nice human. He's
He
like
was-
a
he
really
was a
good
nice
guy,
guy.
but
Yeah.
he's just not a very good player.
So I'm sorry that I cut you off. I'm sorry, you just threw me off. So I'm sorry, you were saying about the weakness.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's really down to, I mean, the defense looks bad because there's a lot of scramble defending. We're way up the field. We're pushing our fullbacks into the attack and thinking it leaves a lot of opportunities on the counterattack when they make turnovers, anywhere in the middle third or anything like that. The defense isn't great, but I do hope that it might be better, even though it doesn't feel like there's a lot of change. They signed Joaquin Fernandez last summer. He played less than 2 games worth of minutes, so he's essentially a new player. And then Logan Ndembe missed the vast majority of last season because he tore his ACL in the playoffs. I don't know if your fans are aware of that story, but he tore his ACL in one of the St. Louis City games, and that's our rival, right, across the state. They were the 1 seed, we were the 8 seed, and he scored a goal in the playoffs, tore his ACL, played 40 something more minutes on a torn ACL, didn't know it was torn. And then,
Wow.
he missed the vast majority of last season because of that. So essentially, even though there's no new players, there's kind of 2 new players. So that's it. Both those guys missed the last 3 preseason games with injuries. So who knows if they're even ready to play. At media day, they said they're ready, but they just say whatever. I don't believe them sometimes.
So I guess, Danny, that means that if Messi doesn't go, we shouldn't really have too much to worry about if Messi doesn't go.
Look, Messi's gonna play, but in I don't know, in a crazy circumstance where for some reason he doesn't play, I still think we should win. Like I think that this Miami team has enough where they should beat this Kansas City team. That, I mean, they've added some pieces, but those pieces have to take a little while to get going. When you add them to what was a pretty bad roster last year. So, like you said, best time to play them is right now while they're still building that chemistry and getting going. Maybe they'll put it together, but I highly doubt it's going to be the game before the first regular season game. I think this is the time to play them.
I have a question, Danny, because look, it's being mentioned here. Like Janet's saying, always better to have the second leg back at home, right? Obviously, with the weather permitting. Is it even possible, or would it have been possible to swap the games around where they play in Miami tomorrow or Wednesday, and then the next game would be in KC because the weather in the weekend is looking a lot better over there than it is right now at the moment?
Business-wise, I don't think it would have been smart for Miami just because they're having a hard enough time giving away tickets next week. Imagine, hey, by the way, tomorrow there's a game. That would have been empty. It would have been an empty stadium.
Yeah,
that's what I was kind of wondering about too, because you see it in other sports, right? In the NFL, obviously, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but they switch games on a whim. Like when there was the fires in Los Angeles, or when there's really bad weather situations, they've moved to neutral sites, or swapped who had the home game, or whatever the case may be. Or even like the playoffs last year in MLS, like Vancouver had their hosting situation all screwed up, and they moved it to another stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't even know that playing on the road first, I suppose it can be an advantage, but I feel like you should give the team that is the higher seed, Miami in this case, the choice. Would you rather go on the road first or be at home first? And then sometimes
I'd rather play on
the team at home.
I'd rather play on the road second. Just because technically the away goal, which I think is such a stupid rule, but the away goal, I think it's so dumb, but that's the tiebreaker if you have more away goals. So I think that if you are the higher seed, you should have the benefit of having the opportunity to get as many away goals as possible. So I think that it's beneficial to be playing whoever's playing that away game second. I think it is the team that has the most benefit because you know what you need, what you're going after.
I agree because that's what I referenced that 2018 Portland playoff game against Sporting, and Sporting were the high seed. We might have been the 1 seed that year. I can't remember. We have a lot of seasons where they've been 1 or 2 in the standings in the West, and then they had to go on the road first, and Portland just parked the bus, and it was a 0-0 draw. Nothing could happen, and then Sebastian Blanco scored a worldie, and suddenly you need to score twice because tying isn't good enough because that away goal, and it caused just a weird circumstance in the game versus if Sporting had been at home first, they probably play looser, they play differently, and then you know what you need to do on the road to make it up. I agree with you, Daniel. Absolutely.
I think it's such a dumb rule. Look, I'm glad the Champions League got rid of it over there in Europe. I don't know why we haven't gotten rid of it here. It's such a stupid rule. But whatever.
Just being late to the party when it comes to those kind of things.
Player to watch when we're watching this game. What player should Miami fans be looking out for? Like, hey, this guy, you probably want to keep an eye on this guy because he's going to become a household name possibly in the future.
Yeah, I think the obvious answer is probably Dejan Joveljic, just because obviously you already know him, right?
Yeah.
He was quite a player for the Galaxy. He's going to be the starting striker. But I think maybe the underrated guy to watch, and again, he's not even been here a week by the time this game is going to happen. Who knows if he even plays, is Manu Garcia. He's our new designated player, number 10. Obviously, he's not going to wear number 10, just to be clear, but, position on the field, I should say. And he has this ability potentially to unlock the offense because they were really stagnant last year. We didn't have a true number 10. We had Eric Tommy, who you all will remember scoring a worldie of a goal at that game at Arrowhead. And yeah, it's like Tommy's a good player, but he's moved to the wing, which is, I think, where he probably belongs. He likes to dribble. He likes to carry the ball up the field. He loves to shoot. He does not love to pass, which you don't really want from your 10. You want somebody that can create. I always say Eric Tommy's never seen a shot he doesn't like. So let's have somebody pass him into space and let him have a better place to shoot from instead of where he's been shooting. He was like second or third on the team in goals last year. It's not like he was terrible, but nobody really scored a lot of goals. Like our leading scorer, I think, like 10 goals, something like that. So, it's a different world over here in Kansas City. Nobody has Messi. So,
so going into the game, let's say you are a degenerate and you like to gamble, and you put the house on Inter Miami, but you want to make sure, even though they should win, I need to make sure they're going to win. So you walk up to Mascherano and you whisper in his ear, "This is how you beat my KC." What do you tell him?
Honestly, I don't know that Miami would play this way, but Sporting are super susceptible, or have been, on the counterattack. They try to possess the ball. They want to. So if you can kind of stay in and move quickly on the counter, that is the recipe to tear this team apart. Now, they have gotten more athletic in the defense, so I don't know if some of these center backs are going to be available and are going to be better at it, but if you all remember Andreu Fontes, the first season that Miami played Sporting, do you remember that game where he's holding the ball and Sergio Busquets rips it out of his hand, sets it on the ground, and starts a quick counter?
On the free kick,
Yeah, Fontes is the slowest man in the world, and he was already on the wrong side of the midfield stripe, but he would constantly be on the wrong side of the midfield stripe because they wanted to possess, and they'd use him as a piece of the possession in the attack, but he had no ability to get back whatsoever. He's gone. Some of these other guys are more athletic, but I still think you don't have your chemistry together. They haven't really played. A lot of these defenders haven't even played together through preseason because a lot of them have missed time. I mean, we might have our first round draft pick, our number 8 overall pick, starting at center back on Wednesday. I mean, I can't even rule it out. Honestly, he looked good in preseason. He wasn't out there for most of the disasters, but that's a big, what a situation to come in, right? The college draft is basically broken. It doesn't do anything anymore. I think he could be a decent contributor to this team, but to have to play against Suarez and Messi and all these guys, what a tough first assignment.
Absolutely. That is tough.
Well, Danny, the good thing is that we're really good on the counter. Messi loves the counter and hauling ass on the break and the link up play. There's your key words there, guys. There's your breakdowns.
No, I was gonna say in the preseason, Mascherano has shown a tendency to want to press high. How do you think that your back line and your keeper are disciplined enough to kind of break a high press.
That is the way they want to play, but we also have a brand new goalkeeper. John Pulskamp has now been given the number one spot. And Tim Melia was the starting goalkeeper for a decade in Kansas City, a legend. You know, he's going to be on the wall. Yeah, best PK stopper in the history of the league. I did ask Pulskamp. He said Melia taught him how to stop PKs before he left. He gave him his secrets. He's like, I can't tell you, of course. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want you to tell me. I just want you to stop some penalties. Because when he would go play at MLS Next Pro and they'd go to shootouts, he'd give up all 5 of them. So it's like, I need you to learn how to stop some PKs. But can they possess? Theoretically, yes. I looked at the underlying numbers from Pulskamp, and he actually is a pretty decent passer, all things considered. But he's not played against Messi. He's only playing in the games where it was like short rest, all the backups are in. So his numbers aren't always the best in terms of expected goals or goals allowed, things like that. But yeah, he has it, but he's 23 years old. It's a baby in goalkeeper terms, right? Like you don't even become like a veteran, regular starter in many of these situations till late 20s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and his backup's 22 and the third stringer 17 years old. So it's all kids. It's the youngest goalkeeper room in all of Major League Soccer. It's going to be wild. Could be great, could be terrible.
If he could get a couple long passes off, that's the way to beat Miami when they're doing that high press, especially with our center backs. We don't know if Tato Aviles is playing. I haven't heard anything. The person we're hoping starts at left center back, we just found out that he's finally signed with the team officially today, even though we've known about it for a month now. So we don't know if he's going to be playing. And Jordi Alba suspended for the game because he got a red card against Monterrey last year when we got eliminated by them. So he's not going to be playing left back. So Noah Allen, which would be technically sometimes our backup center back, will be playing left back. So our back line is a little iffy at the moment also. So if your goalkeeper can have some accurate long balls and you have Jovalic at the end of one of those, and Ustari hasn't showed the best to be a one-on-one stopper, as much as the chat hates to hear it. I mean, you guys could pull 1 or maybe even 2 goals off. Now, my thing here is that I think that Miami needs to leave here with at least a draw, but it cannot be a 0-0 draw. Because at that point, you are at a serious disadvantage. Because then all they need to do is score 1 or hold you to 1 and get 1 and a 1-1 draw at home, and then they move on. So you need to score, and you can't lose. So it should be interesting. And Mr. Krabs, yes, the red card does, because it was the game where we got eliminated last year. It carried over to this year. Yeah. So Jordi Alba will not be playing on Wednesday night.
Well, that's some good news. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Or bad news, I guess, depending on which side of this podcast you're on. I'm the only one that thinks it's good news.
All right. Prediction time.
I want to get to the good stuff, Danny. I mean, we have here people predicting nothing but ties and people being frozen. Rubita is saying 0-0, everybody frozen after 10 minutes.
You do not want a 0-0 draw. I'm telling you. Once you get into a 0-0 draw, then KC at that point is playing for a 1-0 win at home, or they're playing for the draw, because at that point they're going to, and if they draw, they win the following week, as long as they score at least 1. So you're at a serious disadvantage. So you have to score a goal, and you cannot lose. You cannot lose. You better score. So Chad, we always start with our guest. Your prediction for Wednesday night.
So I will first give you a little hope here. It's been a decade, but Sporting played in this competition. I don't know if it was called the Champions League at that time or one of the previous names. And after they won MLS Cup in 2013, and then they went and beat Cruz Azul 1-0. And everybody's like, oh, they're going to advance. And then they went down to Mexico and got murdered. So, it's a different world back then. MLS has gotten a lot better in the last 10 years. The talent level is immensely higher than it was back then. Like, I even say last year's crappy Sporting KC team probably beats that 2013 MLS Cup winning Sporting KC team. It got me some heat online, but I was like, y'all, the world is different. You don't know. You can't remember what it used to be like. As far as the game, I wrote a preview about it on the KC Soccer Journal, kcsoccerjournal.com, if y'all want to check that out. And I will say, I didn't know about the Alba thing, but gosh, I don't know that it matters. I predicted a 1-0 win because Sporting can't score any goals, but I would much rather be a high scoring, wild shootout, like, get my blood pumping, because I'm going to need something to keep me warm in those awful negative temperatures with the wind chill.
So you're going 1-0. Okay.
Miami, 1-0 Miami, to be clear.
1-0 Miami, I'm going to go 2-0 Miami. Just because I think that cold or not, Miami is too talented to not figure it out. So I'm going to go 2-0, although I think we're going to have some scary moments where we get caught on the counter. But I think, look, you know what? Maybe Jovic, I'm going to change it. 2-1. I'm going to say 2-1.
Oh.
2-1, and let's keep things interesting for the second leg.
You
Chris.
son of a bee. You took my prediction. I was going to go with 2-1. It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be a sloppy game. So I'm going with 2-1 easily. I'm going to have to agree with you, Danny.
I'm fearful of a 0-0 draw.
That's awful.
Will there be snow on Wednesday? Do you know?
So I think they should have it cleared. Who knows, though? So they're canceling this or postponing this game well in advance. But have you ever seen the memes about the weather in the Midwest where it's like, oh, just wait 5 minutes and it'll change? So there was this weather forecast. It's like a comic strip from years ago, but it's real. And it's like one day it's like 80 degrees. The next day it's like 20. Oh, then it's up again. It's down again. And it was like a city that's an hour and a half from here. And it was a real thing. Because the weather just changes so much. So the wind blows differently. It slows down. They're always like, oh, it's going to snow at this time. And then it shows up 8 hours later. And I don't know. We could see things change. We could see things shift. It'd be ironic if they waited. It was both colder and still snowed. Because it's like, what are they going to do at that point? They can't play it on Thursday. Then you get one day off between the MLS opening weekend. You can't have that.
Then they'd have to move that game to Sunday. And then it'll just be a hot mess. But we'll see. Maybe.
Yeah,
Chris, so you said 2-1?
Yeah, 2-1 I'm going with.
Okay. Like I said, my fear is our defensive back line. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know who's playing. And Jovic on a counter. Jovic on a counter, one-on-one against Ustadi. I think he wins that battle. So it worries me a little bit, but we'll see. I have to feel confident because we have the better roster overall. But we'll see. We'll see. Look, we saw Messi in training camp when I think the temperature was like 70, 60, in the high 60s, and he was wearing a beanie.
A beanie.
I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. Yeah, that was like a couple weeks ago. Now it just dropped 70 degrees from there. What is he going to be wearing tomorrow? So it should be interesting. I'm excited to see.
Negative 12 is what it's supposed to be on Wednesday.
Oof,
with wind chill.
With wind chill.
Yes.
But I mean, they said what? -20, -30 at points, depending on how the wind is behaving, which is just dangerous cold. Kill me now. It's going to be awful. But
Suarez can't play that game, right?
No,
I don't know.
His knees can't make it past through that. He has one good knee, like combined. Like you put both of them together, and it's just one good one. You can't make him run in that weather. Like it's impossible.
Yeah, no Leo Campagna to take over for him anymore, right? So
don't worry, he wasn't that great anyway.
Danny, be quiet.
Some goals. I felt like he scored some goals.
People
are thinking he's going to turn the revolution around. So have you all talked about this whole Messi's going to play quote from Mascherano yet? Have you had a podcast since that? That was today that came out, right?
That was this morning. Yeah, he said he's going to play. He said he's available. He's not injured. He's going to play. He's played in the snow in Paris. It all stems from a Luis Suarez interview from 2021, where he said that Messi was unhappy and didn't like playing in the snow over there in Paris, and that's why he's gotten off to a slow start, because I think he had like 4 goals in 10 games or something. So and that was the quote that Luis Suarez said back in 2021. So it was kind of just referring back to that. But I mean, it's not a full season. It's literally just one game. And he'll never have to face these conditions again. Unless, no, not even, because it's not this cold in the beginning of December when the MLS Cup final is. So no matter where you play the MLS Cup final, where Vancouver maybe? I don't see
they have a dome. But when Sporting hosted MLS Cup final, it's the coldest game in team history. This is going to break that record though, because I
December
think it was like
7th?
22 at kickoff. Yeah.
Really, the first week of December, it gets that cold in Kansas City?
It can. It'll snow in November here sometimes. So
That's
yeah,
rough.
it could absolutely. If any of these, like if it's they can't play Toronto in the finals. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of Western teams that you have to worry
Right.
about for the cold. Just Minnesota, Sporting, maybe Colorado. But are any of those teams likely to host an MLS Cup? Like it feels pretty low odds.
Yeah. So I feel like this is the only game that he's gonna have to worry about this. So just tough it out, win the game, and then you don't have to worry about this maybe until the end of November, I guess. But I doubt that also. All right. Well, Chad, this is the first time you join us here on the Battered Herons. I know you were part of the Battered MLS fans, but we have a tradition where we kind of rapid fire some questions for our first time guests. So if you will indulge us with our silliness, we would love to hit you with some of these questions.
Yeah, I'm down.
Steak or no steak, Danny?
Go for the steak. Chad
Okay,
seems
so
like
we're gonna put
he's a
some
number
meat.
5 kind of guy.
We're putting some meat on your face here. All right, Chad.
Yeah,
And you got to pick between these 5 pieces of steak and these 6 pieces of toast. Which ones are you picking?
Okay. Gosh, I'd probably go 2 on the steak. I mean, we're the barbecue capital up here, right? We're pretty serious about our meat. Toast, though, I'm probably more like a 3. I don't want it burnt. My wife burns the toast a lot, and she insists that she likes it that way, but I think she doesn't know how to use the toaster.
I actually love myself a number 5, but
go ahead. We've never
Really?
had a number 1 in steak.
You eat it well done. It's like you're ruining the meat. Like, okay, compromise.
Oh no, I'm not talking about steak. No, I'm talking about. I'm sorry, a number 5 in toast.
Okay,
that's what I would.
Oh, I was like, geez,
no, I would never eat a number 5 in steak.
No, that's basically beef jerky.
It's beef jerky. Yeah, exactly.
That's beef jerky, basically. Nah. All right, Chris, go ahead.
Chad, we got another one. Sandwiches, the way we cut them with the loaf of bread, sliced loaf bread. Are you doing diagonal cuts or north to south cuts?
I'm gonna be honest. I just eat it. Like, do I have to cut it in half? That feels weird. I feel like when you go to restaurants, they do the diagonal most of the time, but I just eat the thing.
Whoa.
So you're just like a man's man, just bully through it.
I don't know if that's how anybody's ever described me in my life, but yeah, let's say that. That's what we'll go with.
All right. So let's go grocery shopping real quick. When you go grocery shopping, so typically people like to hold the cart from the back on the handle. I'm not that kind of guy. I shop and I hold the front of the cart. So are you a front cart guy or a back of the cart guy?
Yeah, I'm definitely pushing it. I have a daughter, so she likes to hop on the end. She's honestly too old to be on the end at this point, frankly, but whatever. Like if it keeps her from grabbing everything and putting it in the cart, I'll take whatever I can get.
Ooh, I'm super.
You know what, Chris? Now that you asked this question, I just remembered. I took this picture earlier today.
Oh, you're a puller, my guy.
I'm pulling, but I don't know if you can notice that I had somebody guiding the stroller, so I needed to make sure he didn't run anybody over. Right, so I'm pulling, but I've now found the reason why I have to pull. Well, because I have my son and he's a maniac, so he doesn't look. He's looking at everything as he walks forward. So, but that's the only reason I can see it fit to be a puller and not a pusher.
I could see that. I could see that. Now, and Dennis is saying that Chad isn't a complete mutant. So I haven't looked at the comments. I don't know how crazy.
I don't know what's happening down here. So
no, the comments at this point they get crazy. All right, one more. Since everybody talks about the frosted tips that you got, this is the perfect question for this.
Tips. Can I stress this? This is just regular.
It doesn't matter. We're just gonna roll with it here because this is the perfect transition. If you had to pick one, okay, this is deal breaker stuff here, Chad. Okay, I know you have to be ready here. Mm-hmm. Backstreet Boys are NSYNC.
Oh God. I can't. I mean, I grew up in the age of the boy band. Like I was in like high school and early college when this was going on, and my wife would tell me. So I'm just gonna pick based on her. I don't care. I don't know any of the songs. I don't know who's who. but I'm gonna say In Sync because that's who she would want me to pick. But she wouldn't want me to. She hates JT though, just to be clear, because she thinks he's a scumbag. So.
Come on, man. You gotta choose Backstreet Boys. Oh, what? Oh man. Chad.
You guys
Mario.
like boy bands? What is happening? What kind of? I mean, that said, I listen to like some pop punk garbage music sometimes too.
I love
Green
that,
Day or whatever. But
the "I Want It That Way" song. Come on, I know you've heard it.
I know.
Tell
Oh
me
yeah, I mean, I'm aware of
why
it,
ain't
but I couldn't tell you
Come
which
on.
one of them sing it. So-
Backstreet Boys. It's the Backstreet
Okay,
Boys.
okay.
Is Super Mario a superhero?
Oh, Super Mario for sure.
My guy.
I like nerdy stuff. I got some like nerdy Star Wars nonsense going on behind me, but like I don't know anything about the superheroes. But I know Mario.
Super Mario. He's a superhero. His name. It's in the name. Super. No. Do zombies swim?
Oh, I don't know. What was the movie where they like walk along the bottom of the water and then they emerge from the other side? Was that like one of the Dawn
I
of
don't
the Dead
remember seeing
remakes?
that ever.
Oh yeah,
I
can't
do
even really say
remember that from one of the movies. It was right off of like an island coast.
Yeah, and they just like walk and then they just emerge out the other side. I remember playing that Dead Island game. Is that how the zombies got on the Dead Island, or were they stuck out there? I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Ooh,
Is Keanu
good
Reeves
question.
overrated?
I mean,
Is Keanu Reeves overrated? I mean, I just feel like he's such a nice guy, right? Like he's John Wick.
Danny,
a
you're a
million
piece
times.
of crap.
I get it. He's a nice guy, but his acting, he's overrated.
I
Everybody
mean,
else
yeah, I
says
don't
the
know.
same thing.
I don't know that he's that talented or anything like that, right? He's like the same
Oh, he's
person all the time.
amazingly
Like,
talented. No, he's not.
Nah, it's the same monotone every single role. Oh,
yeah, whatever. He finds the roles that fit for what he wants to do, right? Who doesn't love a good shoot 'em up or the first Matrix movie? I can't back those other ones, but maybe a little Bill and Ted's if you want to go way back.
Bill and
The
Ted's cool.
Replacements.
Okay, yeah, I've seen the Replacements.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, look at that. You're about to get Alejandro off of the chat. Like, there's tons of people that are going to leave because of you and dislike this whole thing, Danny.
All right. I think I can't think of any other gas bag questions that we've asked. So, you got anything else, Chris?
No, man, that's it. It was a blast, Chad. Got to get to know you a little better.
Chad, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Please let everybody know where they could find you if they want some more sporting KC talk.
Yeah, I'm basically everywhere. So kcsoccerjournal.com is going to be our website. Writing all the time over there. We have a bunch of podcasts, but the one I host is For the Glory KC. I host with my wife. It is a very different vibe. She pays attention. She knows what's going on. She watches the games, but she doesn't understand tactics or anything like that. She's a lot of hair comments and things of that nature. And then if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter, I'm at Play490, and on Blue Sky, I'm Chad C. Smith, just my whole name.
All right. Last question, because I just saw it pop up here. Amanda, thank you. The Beatles, overrated, yes or no?
Oh, absolutely not. The Beatles are legends. What are we talking about?
Exactly. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness. No, they're not.
Thank
they
you.
made music when, like, nobody else.
Yeah, but I mean, think they paved the way for all this other stuff, right? Like, yeah,
And it
is it
still
the most
hits.
complicated things? Yeah, they're catchy, they're fun. Well, I mean, there's some weird stuff too, but I like I don't know, I like upbeat, happy music in general. I just have a good time. Let's have a good
Let me
time.
hold your hand. Come on, man.
They literally
Yes.
made music around like 5 other groups that were like not even available, not even allowed to do music. Like there was so many musical acts that were great around that time, not even allowed.
All
Yeah,
right.
and honestly, like it was all white people back then too, right? So like they didn't have a lot of
Exactly.
competition, and now
That's
there's
my
a lot
whole
more talent. Yeah,
Like,
no, that's
but
fair.
people still listen to it, Chris.
Danny, but I'm
There's
telling you,
people of all colors and ethnicities making music now, and people still pull up the Beatles to listen to them.
all
They're
I'm
technically
saying,
still competing against these people, and people are still listening to them.
all I'm saying is that if everyone was allowed to make music at that time, the Beatles would just be like whatever.
Weren't the Temptations around back then?
I believe so, but like they weren't out there like the Beatles.
If you're listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please, stars, comment,
Bee
review,
Gees
all that
over the
good stuff.
Beatles.
If you're watching YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. And for those of you in the chat, as always, you guys are the best part of the show. We appreciate you hanging out with us for the last hour. And if you want some more Herons talk, we're going to be on with Las Garzas. We're going to be doing our 2025 season preview episode in about 2 minutes. So we're going to be going, so change your brain over to Spanish. We're talking Las Garzas, La Previa 2025. So make sure that you join us for that in like 2 minutes. So appreciate you guys. And we'll be back not tomorrow, because unfortunately we're going to have the watch along tomorrow. Now we got pushed back to Wednesday. But we'll see you guys on Wednesday night. So until the next one, have a good one.
You suck.